Welcome to Worth It. I'm your host, Lonnie Buse, on this interview and training network, Hypno 24/7 Live. And before I introduce my amazing guest to you today, I just want to encourage you to check out all the other shows on this network, such as Kaz Riley's Trancing in the Sheets, where she explores topics of sexual freedom, like consent, intimacy, sexual dysfunction, or Greg Beckett's Time to Get Unstuck, where my guest was also a guest on his show as well. Time to Get Unstuck is basically about where Greg and his guest ponder one word and have a meaningful conversation around that word. Or also check out Paul Ramsey's The Fat Hypnotist, where he chronicles his weight loss journey. And today I have Karen Hand. Karen Hand is a board certified hypnotist and National Guild of Hypnotists certified instructor. She's an NLP master practitioner and EFT facilitator. She specializes in pain management and protocols in the management of migraines, fibromyalgia, IBS, smoking cessation, weight control, and habit change. She also teaches the art of hypnosis and classes and ongoing workshops throughout the year. She also received the Hypnotist of the Year Award in 2010 at the Mid-America Hypnosis Conference. But she began her career in radio in Chicago, which I'm kind of interested in exploring as well. She headlined the top-rated program, Private Lives, with Dr. Kelly Johnson for more than a decade, helping Chicagoans with self-improvement and relationship issues. And more recently, she has an amazing book out that she authored called Magic Words and Language Patterns. Karen, welcome to Worth It.
Lonnie, thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled. And I have to thank you right off the bat. I have to express my gratitude because I know that part of what you were talking about, saying about me, was on my website. And I realize now what I've left off of my website.
Tell me more.
Tell me more. I have to go back. Well, I have to include that I'm also a trainer for ICBCH and IACT. Those aren't on there. Why have I left that off? That old about, I don't change. So why should I change the about page of my website?
and the amazing virtual chapter, right? That you also have with Michael Watson.
Virtual chapter with Michael Watson. And I won the Pen and Quill Award from the IACT and INDHA group. So thank you, Lonnie, so much because you've given me homework. I will go back and correct some of that stuff.
Yes, because a lot more that you have to add on there. And I personally love no problem. And I personally love the virtual chapter with you and Michael. I'm always a guest on that. And I kind of check out.
I'm not saying that I'm good, but the program is so good. We bring people all over the world. It's just so cool.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so great. So, and that's kind of where I learned most about your work through the virtual chapter. And then I read your book, which is great. And I kind of always have to go back and reread it. And your newsletter is amazing, which kind of reinforces all of that. So, so thank you. And thank you. As you know, this show is all about imposter phenomenon, because people, the typical popularized term is impostor syndrome, but then that's kind of like a medical term. So we use all expressions here on the show. Yeah. So, and as you know, it's basically, that feeling of feeling like a fraud or feeling like a fake, despite having success. So having like high competency, yet, feeling possibly with low confidence or feeling like your success is related to luck and all these things. So I'm curious, Karen, have you ever experienced this at all in your life at any point?
Oh my God. I'll be brief, but I can't say that I've experienced it only once. I've experienced it through various iterations. I have reinvented myself a couple of times in my lifetime. But the big one that I want to tell you about, Lonnie, is when I transitioned from radio to hypnosis. Okay. So in radio, I had a 30-year career in Chicago radio where I was a personality on the air. Now, where you are out there in Hollywood, radio personalities aren't the big deal because Jennifer Lopez is in the restaurant or because, there are big Hollywood stars out there. But oh my gosh, in Chicago, radio personalities and television personalities are big deals, right? So I made appearances. I went out and did things over the course of that career. And when I showed up someplace, there was a room full of people, a crowd of people there to see me because the power of the radio station had broadcasted. And oh my gosh, people were fans of the radio station along with the program or whatever it was. So there was a whole rabid crowd. They're waiting to see me, right? My cachet preceded me. That was a very nice position to be in life, I'll say. Then I transitioned to hypnosis, and I that was my real passion, my third real passion in life, by the way. And when I transitioned, I did so with another radio gal who we both left radio about the same time, and we opened up a huge hypnosis center, a big go big or go home. We didn't know what we were doing, and we didn't know anything at all about business, but go big or go home. We got a big center. We hired 7 hypnotists. We were going full bore. We did radio advertising, all of that. And of course, radio gals, we made appearances. And so we joined every health fair we could possibly join. We got our logo printed and every big signs, right? And had hypnosis along the top. And Lonnie, people would come by our booth at the health fair and go, "Oh, don't look them in the eyes. They'll hypnotize you. Oh, God, stay away from that booth." People were avoiding us like the plague. What? It was a whole different life thing. And I went through a couple of years, I got to say, where I thought I'd lost my identity. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was representing. Oh my God, how can people not love this? I found out about hypnosis because I had some hypnotists on my show to make fun of people, right? On a radio show I was doing. When they didn't make fun of people, they told me what hypnosis was all about. I said, oh my God, I've got to try this. I went out, I tried it, I loved it, I trained, I became a hypnotist. That's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I didn't know that people thought it was stupid or thought it was hokey or thought it was scary or thought it was mind control. It was really eye-opening to me and to my radio partner. And so, yes, suddenly we didn't feel like personalities anymore. We didn't feel like important people or worthwhile people. We felt like the scum of the earth or hucksters or charlatans or something else.
Wow.
And so, yes, there were a couple of years that I went through of, I love this, I want to share it with people, but oh my God, I don't know if I can cross that hurdle of breaking down every limiting belief that is out there. It was a big job.
Yeah.
And I was about ready to say, gosh, just get me into something that makes sense. When I met with the person who I was about to go to a Chamber of Commerce event. And I said, I don't know, people don't like me. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want anything to do with hypnosis. And he said, are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me? He said, when you go to a Chamber of Commerce event and you're sitting at a table with the CPA and the real estate agent and, the person who's got some other small business going, you're still the most interesting person at the table. You're a hypnotist. And I went, oh, I can sell that. And I realized, Lonnie, the truth was all along the way, I was selling myself. I was selling myself and had this artificial impression that the radio station was the big deal, right? But I was always selling myself. I was always being authentically me. And so I just found myself in a new place where I was being authentically me. And as soon as I owned that and said, oh my gosh, let me share with you what I know that can really make a difference in your life, it changed everything. And I was no longer the imposter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that.
But yes, there was that whole time where I thought, wow, if I'm not accepted, if people don't like it, what's that going to do? How am I going to cross that hurdle? So you had hinted that I would get to share a technique. I'm not going to rush it. This is your show, not mine. Can you tell I'm a little bit of a control freak?
It's all good. It's all good.
But just along those lines, if we're talking about changing limiting beliefs, oh my gosh, I've got a technique I would love to share with you at some point.
Oh, good.
About a quick way to change a limiting belief.
I love it. I love it.
Flash of insight.
Awesome. I love it. Good. Because I'm glad. And what I really liked, excuse me, what I appreciated there is that how that person you were talking to really reframed hypnosis, because it was like initially like people are like, which I get all the time too, is like, don't look her in the eyes. And then, but then it became like, oh yeah, use that. And sort of like, yeah, that's, people's mystery and the weird misconceptions. You just use that as like leverage to get them hooked into what it actually really is.
Yeah, no, I know you're an NLP expert too, and that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Reframing to a better thinking thought,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Change that limiting belief. Let
I
that
love
go.
that. I love that. So that was sort of like where you bridged that whole concept of him, kind of reframing for you.
Right.
So how did it kind of like progress more for you? Because you said it was like very identity level,
Very identity
Yeah.
level, and I had to own it.
Mm.
I guess, as we're really looking into that the first time somebody said, oh gosh, it was
Yeah.
such a blow to my identity level that I felt like, who am I? What am I? And I had to come to the realization that I am me. It
Mm.
doesn't matter what I do. I am not what I do. What I
Yeah.
do is a reflection of who I am and what I bring to the world, right? And so I had to become authentically that. But it's taken me a long time in life to learn to just accept myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I am okay.
Yeah. And that's like an interesting thing, because there's kind of like that thread a little bit on some of the shows of authenticity, right?
Right.
Of being you. So how would you kind of define that? Someone's like, because we get lost in sometimes an external world, and compare ourselves to others. And so how did you kind of, step into like, yeah, this is me. And I mean, how do you kind of, trust that belief in yourself, especially?
Hypnosis helped me with that, and working with people in hypnosis, because that's what
Yeah.
really has given me the understanding, and NLP in particular, the NLP arm of wide awake hypnosis, that everybody is different.
Mhm.
Everybody is different. And I'd like to share with you too.
Yeah.
I've got a wonderful friend and mentor in Chicago, Larry Garrett,
Mhm.
who has been a hypnotist for 45 years, maybe.
Mhm.
A very successful hypnotist. And Larry, every month, the first Sunday of every month, has a meeting at his office with everybody who wants to come. Lay people, hypnotists, Reiki masters, massage therapists, anybody, right? And he has that meeting religiously on the first Sunday of every month, whether it's Christmas or Easter or any other holiday. He has it because he believes people want to belong and want to come together.
Yeah.
Larry's credo, and I became involved with Larry Garrett early on in my hypnosis career, and his credo really is, there's no competition. We are not in competition with each other. There are plenty of people for all of us to be successful. And it took me a while to learn that. And once I really learned that, Lonnie, then it made a difference in my authenticity, because I don't have to convince everybody on the planet that what I've got is valuable to them. That is not my job. That's where the authenticity part came in. I didn't have to convince those people to look me in the eye. They have a right to their opinion, and I don't have to go get them, right? So everybody who did look me in the eye gave me the opportunity to share some incredible information with them. And the people who didn't want it, I just let them go. That's what I kind of had to learn. And that's how I became authentic, that I have this belief that I think is great, but I'm going to honor your belief also. You don't have to like what I have, or you don't have to like me for me to still be valuable.
Right.
I still have something to offer, and I'm going to honor your right to like it or not like it. And I think that goes with hypnosis too. I don't try to, or stop trying to be, everything to everybody. And I stopped trying to measure my worth on the amount of people who loved me.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It wasn't about chalking up everybody. When I teach, I use a metaphor with my students that any car dealer or any car salesman, even the worst one on the lot, can sell a car to somebody who comes into the dealership avidly looking for a new car, right? Nobody, the best car salesman on the lot, cannot sell a car to the guy who's across the street in the donut shop eating a donut and not even noticing that there are cars around. Right? So I don't grab the guy out of the donut shop and say, let me convince you how great hypnosis is, or that you need a car. I allow the people to let me know that they have an interest, and I'll let them know what I can offer them to help them make the change they want to make.
Definitely.
Did that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I love that. And I want to talk about language and words. I mean, since I consider you like a whiz at that. So as we know, like as hypnotists, what we say to ourselves matter, right? But for those people, who might not be in our fields, who might be watching this, why is it important what we say to ourselves specifically?
There is no opinion any more important than the opinion you have of yourself. There is no opinion any more important in life than the opinion you have of yourself, because the opinion you have of yourself stipulates how your whole day is going to go, how your whole life is going to go. I worked with a client, a weight loss client one day, who I asked, okay, what do you want? And she said, I want to be a size 8. And I said, great, tell me about a size 8. And she described her ideal avatar of a size 8, what the size 8 does, how the size 8 moves, how she reacts, how she interacts with people, et cetera, et cetera. And so we played with that and really developed that character in her mind, and then played with the idea that she would go through the next week as a size 8. Acting like a size 8, interacting like a size 8, eating like a size 8, moving like a size 8, whatever she saw that to be. And so she agreed that for the full week, she would pretend and act as if that's who she is. Now, at that time, my office was on the 6th floor of a medical building. And so she called me later that afternoon and said, you won't believe this, but I flirted with a guy on the elevator leaving the office, and he flirted back. We didn't make a date or anything, but it was so fun, and I felt so great, and I was standing taller, and I was walking faster. And she said she lost 3.5 pounds that week because she ate the way she thought a size 8 would eat. She made food choices the way she thought a size 8 would make food choices. She interacted with people the way she thought a size 8 would do, and said it felt great. And that was her plan for change. To act as if she already had what she wanted. What she was telling herself was different. Does that make sense? Because as she saw herself as a fat person, well, a fat person walks in her mind, I'm not saying that, okay, in her mind, a fat person walked into the elevator and sat in the corner and looked down because they weren't worthy. So what is she telling herself? What are the words she's saying to herself as she has that picture of herself in her mind? And what was she saying to herself differently when she walked into that elevator as a size 8?
Wow.
She stood tall, she made eye contact, she talked, and she related to the world differently. So the things she was telling herself, the pictures she was creating in her mind and behaving as if she was that character, set her tone, set her day.
Wow, there's so much there. There's so much layered things going on there that like you can unpack. One, it's like she just had that belief already, right? Acting as if, even though she wasn't a size 8. So like she was still exuding all the confidence and that, belief that she, was worthy, even though she technically still wasn't a size 8. But now, because she was thinking differently, acting differently, appreciating herself differently.
Also notice that she also was not obese. I didn't tell you that part of the equation, but she also was not obese. She was probably a size 12.
Right.
Okay, so she was not obese, but she told herself she was fat. And so she walked into a place and acted as if whatever she saw an obese person acting like.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not real either.
Yeah, that's amazing.
None of this stuff we have in our head is real.
And
let me quote Melissa Tiers. Well, no, I won't quote Melissa Tiers because this is maybe a family network. This stuff's all made up.
Oh, you can do a quoter because I know exactly what quote you're going to say. So
well, we can say this stuff's all made up, or we can say this shit's all made up. Either way, we're making up these pictures in our head, and we can just as easily make up better thoughts.
Yeah. Right? And what I appreciate, there's something about acting as if that feels very different than fake it till you make it. Right? So let's explore the two. Like, tell me how, because I do feel like there's something different, because there's like a false sense of when you're like faking it because you're faking it.
Yes, right. Listen to the words. Words are so important. Listen to the words. Fake it till you make it automatically starts the sentence off with it's not true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Act as if.
Yeah.
Pretend as if when we were kids, we could pretend that we were a mother. We could pretend that we were a sister. We could pretend that we were a goat. We could pretend all sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
And so pretend is easier than fake.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it. Yes, it's cute. It's a
Catchy.
colloquialism, but
Right.
it starts out the sentence with "this isn't true." So
Mhm.
you're telling yourself in your own head, I don't believe a word of this. I'm just faking it.
Yeah.
I act as if means I'm participating in something that I am creating, as opposed to faking something that isn't me. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That little bitty
participation.
word. God,
Yeah.
that was good that you picked up on that. That was really a cool thing to pick up on.
Yeah. And so, and why do you think it's so difficult for some people to actually be exacting with their language and be more positive with their language when they're speaking of themselves? Like, because it's a challenge for a lot of people, and I
Well,
get caught up in it myself all the time. They're
oh,
like,
we
oh, I
all
did it
do.
again. Yeah.
We were never taught
Mm.
that we create ourselves, that we create our own story. We weren't really taught that. And we weren't really taught that we could orchestrate another story. You know, even the American school system, as an example, isn't designed for the individual. The American school system was designed for an industrialized nation, right? There are bells that started off, there are incremental times that we go through. There's a time that you can leave and a time that you have to sit and be quiet. You've got a short amount of time that you can re-energize yourself with food that you can eat or that you can take a break. It's all very industrialized. And so we are really taught covertly. I'm also really big, Lonnie, on nonverbal signals are much more impactful than verbal signals, even though I wrote the book, Magic Words and Language Patterns. It's the nonverbal signals that even have more impact. And so when we're given those signals that we should conform, we need to act like everybody else, we need to do what everybody else does. And the kid who doesn't learn as quickly as everybody else because maybe they are more kinesthetic and need activity than visual and they can read off a board, it's not individualized for them. So they are put in the bad kids section or they are held after school. So all of the messages that we're getting are messages about conformity, which is an important lesson to learn in an industrialized nation to keep society moving around in an organized way. But it's not good for the individual, right? So we're not taught individualism. So when we're different, especially when we're 13 or 14, right? We want to be like everybody else, not different. Those are really difficult times in people's lives. And if we are not taught to look at life from our own authenticity, what is important to us, and that we were just as important on the planet and making decisions, then it's difficult. And people try to conform and don't know why it doesn't feel good to them. And they don't know that they can control how to change it. That's what I think we do. I think that's the magic in what we do. We teach people that you can choose what you want to think. You can choose how you want to act. You can choose it. And I think that's what we teach.
Yeah, because oftentimes people don't realize like their beliefs, what they say to themselves is a story. Like, like it's like, no, it's a reality. No, it's a story. Yeah.
And reality is dumped on us. We have to take, I'm not making this up. I'm not just thinking this. These thoughts just are on me. Well, no, you get to choose what you think. You always get to choose what you think. What is your favorite color?
Red.
Yours.
Red.
Red? Who told you it had to be red? Oh, I'm so glad I wore your favorite color.
Yeah, that's my go-to color, red. Who told me? Oh, I don't know. Me. I would say just me.
Oh, you just came up with that on your own? Nobody told you you had to like red? You just came up with that? Isn't that interesting? All of your thoughts are just like that. You created all of them. So you get to decide what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah. 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 It's kind of giving this sense of self, right? As very, and I think we often think it's just kind of like a static, unmovable thing. Like, this is who I am. Who I am. This is, what you get, what you see is what you get, or what's that other expression? I can't even think of it right now, but we think of it as a very static. We don't think of ourselves as a very like movable, that we can like morph, we can be someone completely different if we choose to have that, if we choose to be, if we're introverted, if we choose to be more extroverted, we can do that. It seems like for some people like an implausibility or something, they don't like, yeah.
Well, we are taught to be individuals.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, it may be different in other countries, but in this country, we're not taught to be individuals. We're taught to go with the flow. And their cooperation is a good thing too. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. We do like cooperation. I like people to like what I do or what I have to offer. You know, if I created a class that nobody was interested in, right, then I would be teaching to nobody. So I do want somebody that will be interested in what I have to offer. But that's, I think, what's different. Sometimes we are afraid of offering what we have an interest in. Oh my God, what kind of spin could I put on that? My book, Magic Words and Language Patterns, is Bandler and Grinder wrote a big one, right, with all the ways that you use cause and effect and complex equivalence and things like that. And I read it and studied it and went, I'm not an English major. Oh my God, how am I ever going to learn this stuff? How am I going to ever, do I really have to know the definition of complex equivalence before I can go on and create a suggestion for my client? Oh my God. So I read all of that. I understood. I loved it. I loved it. But I had to chunk it down into a form that I could use. And when I chunked it down into a form that I could use and created a template for filling in the blanks with my client's stuff, oh, I can do that. And I can do that on the fly. So I just chunked it in a different way, right? And started from a different view of it. Now, I could have easily sat back and said, well, I don't think I have anything to add. I mean, Bandler and Grinder wrote the incredible piece of information. What could I possibly add to that? Well, what I had to add to it was my take on it, how I take that information and how I use it. And maybe the way I use it could be valuable to you too. Yeah. I don't know. Let's throw it out there and see. And I have been so thrilled, maybe a little surprised, that it has been so well received, because it is kind of an easy way to craft suggestions and create a script.
Yeah. No, like you, I thought the same thing when I was studying all that stuff. I was like, I don't remember the definition of, all these expressions. And I was like, this is not gonna, be useful for me. Let me just figure out, the meat and potatoes of it, really. So like, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I threw out there and to see what would happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been great. So that's what I encourage people to do, is throw your stuff out there. Be you. Yeah. Throw it out there. But I guess this is new in that I realize that I understand it and I can create it. But this is a feeling that I've pretty much always had. Even back in the radio days, I was often asked to speak to radio classes. And my message to budding radio folks, people who wanted to be on the radio, my message to them, and I often spoke at college campuses, I would tell the college class, leave college. You don't need to be taught how to do radio. You need to talk, and you need to be yourself, and you need to go on and say your stuff. Create a tape and send it out, because that's how you get jobs in radio, and education doesn't do it. Education's good. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Education's wonderful, and college is a great way to learn who you are and to grow up. But the most successful people in radio have a tendency to have gone and gotten a job as opposed to going to get education, right? And so I didn't tell them to drop out of school, but I said, when you are ready to get your job, pick 5 cities in which you want to live and send your tapes to every single program director in every one of those cities. And out of that vast number of people, somebody is going to be stupid enough to like what it is you do. Just toss it out there and let it land on the desk where somebody will like what you do. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's not that they're stupid enough, but somebody is going to be in line in life with you. Throw your stuff out there and let everybody see it. The people who don't like it won't hire you or won't call you or won't do anything. But the people who do like it are the ones that you want to interact with. And then I had to relearn that lesson in hypnosis. When I learned that the people who are doing this, I don't have to worry about. The people who are looking at me are the ones I invite in.
Yeah, definitely. And what I find interesting is, trying to step into your more of your individuality, attract what resonates with you, right? So, and I'm curious, because we were talking about a little bit with language, and and we all have that kind of inner critic, right? So especially someone who might be suffering from these things, and they're, trying to be more authentic with themselves, be true to who they are, and they're having kind of that mental dump of the inner critic. And as you were speaking with language and even nonverbal, suggestions and things like that, how can someone kind of start shifting that inner critic for themselves so it's not hampering them in this way?
So let me ask you this. Do you right now that you would be willing to share have a limiting belief?
Yeah. So, I mean, openly admit that I've had imposter syndrome, and I think I still have some remnants of that.
Okay.
So, yes.
So what would that belief be in a sentence?
So I always sometimes feel like I don't know enough. So I have to go learn more.
Okay, so
Learn more.
your limiting belief is I don't know enough, and your
Yeah.
solution to that is learn more, right? What
Yeah.
do you know more of already?
Ooh, what do I know more of already? I guess
What is something that you're really good at?
um, I guess because I grew up with bad social anxiety, that I know how to deal better with anxiety. So when I'm working with clients through
Okay.
hypnosis or NLP and things like that.
What is a belief you have inside of yourself that you know to be true? Like, I'm
Mm.
funny, or
I'm
I'm
a
comfortable,
Yeah.
or
I think I'm a really good observer. I'm really observant.
you're really a really good observer,
Yeah.
right? And how will that benefit you in the work that you choose to do?
Oh, so many ways. So I mean, I'm very cued in on like sensory cues, so I'm gonna really, if people are shifting states, I, can spot that quickly. If they're not congruent inside, they might say something. So I'm really observant of people. So I kind of,
Here's the control
yeah,
freak in me.
yeah,
Can I do the technique?
yeah, for sure.
Do you
Yeah.
mind?
Oh
I'm
no,
not
I
going
love
to
it.
take over. I don't mean to
Oh,
take over. If you have it slated for someplace else,
well, go for it. Go for
and
it.
you be the person we're working with, and then everybody else can do it too.
Yeah, sure.
Would that be okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So that limiting belief you have is I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. What is
Yeah, it's like sort of like I'm not good enough because I feel like there's so much I still need to learn. So I'm just
okay.
like, yeah,
But
yeah,
you're a really good observer, right?
yeah.
And boy, will that benefit you in learning, because you can observe and pick up things that way. You can read and pick. So that's a really good thing that is authentically you, right? I am a really good observer.
Yes.
So I'm curious if that would be okay, if those two things would be okay, that your limiting belief is that one thing, and that your better thinking belief is I am a great observer, or I excel at observation, or something like that. Is
Sure.
that okay with you?
Yeah, definitely.
So what I would like you to do then, and you can do this eyes open or closed, it doesn't really make any difference. I would like you to imagine, in the way that works best for you, and if that works best with your eyes closed, you can do that. But imagine that there is a giant whiteboard in front of you, okay? And I'd like you, Lonnie, to write that limiting belief that you have up there on the whiteboard. Just write it up there on the whiteboard.
Okay.
It's up there? Okay.
Yes.
Now, erase it. Erase that and clean that whiteboard so that it is pristine, sparkling, perfect. Now, write your new belief up there. And let me know when that's up there.
Okay.
Good. Now, with that new belief up there, colorize it. Take a marker or whatever and make those letters colorful, bright, vibrant. I don't know if you use neon colors, or I don't know, but colorize that in any way that you want. And once you have those colors really popping there on that whiteboard, add a soundtrack to it. I don't know if there is an uplifting song that can go through your mind, but that might go with that. Add that uplifting soundtrack to it. And notice that as the music starts to really wail, those letters start to dance. Let those letters sort of wiggle and dance and start dancing all around that board. Let them dance and move, and they may even go out of order, but let them just celebrate on that whiteboard to that uplifting soundtrack. And when you've really got them hopping and dancing, let those letters dance right off of that whiteboard and into your head. Let them dance all the way into your head and swirl around in your head, swirling and dancing and moving. And how many times, Lonnie, would those letters with that better feeling thought have to dance around in your head until it became real for you? Let it dance and dance and dance until it becomes real for you, because you are an exquisite observer and you are really good at what you do. Let it dance and dance and dance and go all the way through your body, into every cell and pore of your body. Let it dance all the way through you. You know, hypnotic time is very quick, so this can happen very, very quickly as it dances all the way through you. And once it's all the way through you in every pore and every cell of your body, imagine a giant billboard up and to your right, and let those letters dance up to that billboard. There it is, your better feeling thought plastered right there on the billboard, right there in bright, shining color. And perhaps there's a symbol or a word or something that symbolizes that thought to you. Put that up on the billboard too. And when you've got it, just let me know. Now that you've got that better feeling thought, take a nice deep breath and bring that symbol into you. Let it move through your entire body. Breathe it in one more time, and when you're ready, come back to the room with that better feeling thought in place and working for you. Appreciate yourself. Appreciate yourself in all of your perfection, just the way you are. And pat yourself on the back as you take that better feeling thought through you.
I love that way of shifting like a belief.
Isn't it cool?
It's so cool. And it's so new to me. It was great because you actually feel the new belief, you know, as opposed to like, there's a belief you like intrinsically, yeah, you innately feel differently after that.
I was pretty sure that that would resonate with you because of your NLP background. I mean, there are layers of, you know, sound and shifting modalities and putting it up there where you're creating and all of that stuff. And you've got something that you can hold on to.
Wow. Love that.
And a better feeling thought to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, if anybody who's watching this wants that, I don't care if you're a hypnotist or a layperson or whatever, I will be happy to send the guidelines of that process to you. If you'd like to have it, just email me at Karen@KarenHand.com and ask for the dancing letters process, and I'll be happy to send that to you.
I love that. That was really good. I really love that. So, wow, there's so much going on.
Okay.
I'm like, ooh, that was really great.
Note to self, don't trance out the host.
I love that. So for someone, you know, since we've been discussing this topic, there's anything that you really want people to know with regard to this, anything additional with regards to this topic? Or, I mean, because it's so, you know, people start feeling anxiety, they start feeling, you know, they procrastinate or they're over perfectionists. I mean, there's so many different layers. They could get depressed. They can, you know, be passionate about something and then just not do it because they're just feeling these feelings and like thinking these thoughts. So like, what is it that you kind of want people to know additionally with regards to this?
Who do you think Cindy Crawford is beautiful?
Yeah.
I mean, she is kind of, we can look at her and say she's a beautiful woman, right?
Yeah.
Made a lot of success off of her beauty. How about J-Lo? Beautiful woman, right? These people all have things when they look in the mirror that they don't like. Cindy Crawford has been widely quoted as saying, oh gosh, my nose, it's off and there's no symmetry to my face. And when she looks in the mirror, she doesn't necessarily like what she sees. Seriously? Really? That's not reality, right? That's a limiting belief. J-Lo doesn't look into the mirror and see those rock hard abs. She's 50 years old. How could she ever say anything negative about herself, for heaven's sake? But people do. People, we're not perfect. We're not going to be perfect. And if you can relax in your imperfection, I bought myself a t-shirt that says perfectly imperfect, because I want to remind myself that I am absolutely perfectly imperfect. And that's okay. That's okay, because perfection's really hard to be around. I don't really want to be perfect. My mother thought she was perfect, and she was a very difficult person to be around. So I don't want that, right? And everything that we have is perfectly, authentically us. Own that. Own that. And if you don't like beets, don't eat them. But by God, if you like beets, order them and eat them and enjoy every bite of them. I can't think of, that was the first vegetable I could think of that some people really hate, right? Own your stuff and just set it out there. And not everybody's going to like it, but some people will. And your tribe is made up of the people who appreciate you, but you have to appreciate yourself first to be in the tribe too.
And now they can take all their limiting beliefs and do this awesome technique that you just walked me through.
Do it every time. Do it with everyone that you want to erase and annihilate. And it doesn't have to be the opposite. If you say, I'm not worthy, it doesn't have to be, oh gosh, I'm perfectly worthy. It can be something else. What we did was take something else that you are really good at and really build that up so that you get that picture instead.
Yeah. Right? Love that. So Karen, if people want to know more about you and learn more about you and your work, where can I find you?
Well, don't go to the about page on my website because obviously it's old, but but you can go to my website, KarenHand.com. And I really made it pretty easy for everybody. My email is Karen@KarenHand.com. So if I have, let's see, so I am the handy hypnotist. And if you remember Karen, then you add hand to it, and that's all good. Have I driven home the branding enough?
I love it, as you should, as you should.
And Magic Words and Language Patterns is available on Amazon. It's a great gift. So if you've got holidays coming up, it's great. If you've got birthdays coming up, Magic Words and Language Patterns by Karen Hand. I'm sorry, Lonnie, I didn't really mean to hijack your interview.
No, you should. And I mean, and I think it's a good book for anyone. You don't have to be a hypnotist. It's a great way to start talking to yourself in a different way.
I really did write it for hypnotists because that's where my passion is, but it's a great sales book, or it's a great book for lawyers. It's great persuasive languaging. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. Persuade yourself to treat yourself better, really.
Yes. So. Yeah, believe.
Well, thank you for being on Worth It, Karen. I appreciate it.
You made this so much fun. I've been in a trance the whole time because the time just flew. Thank you so much. You're great. You're really great. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching this episode of Worth It. And if you're wondering where you can learn more about me, well, I'm a hypnotist, NLP practitioner, and energy healer based in Hollywood, California. You can book a session with me at the shop I work at by going to liberatehollywood.com. But if you're out of the state, I do work through Zoom. And you can find more about me on my website, LonnieBuess.com. That's LANIBUESS.com. Feel free to email me at change@LonnieBuess.com or find me on Facebook at Coach Lonnie B or Instagram at Lonnie_B_change. And check out my YouTube channel, Lonnie Buess, where you'll find a bunch of videos to watch. And if you want to join the Facebook group for this very show, go to facebook.com/groups/worthitshow. Thanks again for watching this episode. Feel free to email me to give me feedback on how you're loving it. And again, just remember, you're worth it. Until next time.